Good evening, and we are here for an ultra short discussion. We'll not keep it long. फटाफट खत्म करेंगे and so that you can enjoy the rest of your evening doom scrolling, right? That is the term, I guess, these days, है ना? Doom scrolling. चलो. The accounting standard that we are covering today is IAS 10 events after the reporting date. Now, what is the reporting date? Reporting date is the date for which the financial statements are prepared. So, if the financial statements are prepared for 31st of March, then 31st of March is the reporting date. Okay. If the financial statements are prepared for 31st of December, then 31st of December is the reporting date. And the whole idea is that if an event takes place after 31st of March, okay, what impact does it have on the financial statements dated 31st of March? Now, that is the impact that we are trying to analyze, and that is what our focus is going to be. It's a small accounting standard, closely linked with IAS 37, closely linked with a whole lot of other accounting standards also. Uh, the reason why, I did not take it immediately after IAS 37 and I waited all this time is, इसमें ना we have a reference of so many other accounting standards. हाँ, मतलब IAS, मतलब इम्पेयरमेंट का रेफरेंस है, नॉन करंट असेट्स हेल्ड फॉर सेल का रेफरेंस है, बहुत सारे अलग अलग अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स का रेफरेंस है, विच इज व्हाई आई हैड टू कंप्लीट दो स्टैंडर्ड्स टू डिस्कस दिस वन. नाउ, what is this time period that we are talking about? We are talking about events that take place after 31st of March, but till the date the financial statements are authorized for issue. What do you mean by date when the financial statements are authorized for issue? See, ultimately किसका responsibility है to prepare the financial statements? किसका काम है?
Management.
Management. It is the management's responsibility to prepare the financial statements. And management prepares the financial statements on dated 31st of March. Now, the management, see how do you fix the responsibility on someone? You make them sign that document, right? If you have to fix the responsibility on management, you have to make members of the management sign the balance sheet. So usually from the board of directors, there are two individual directors who sign the financial statements. Okay, two individual directors who sign the financial statements. They are known as, of course, once they sign the financial statements, you can say that the financial statements are authorized for issue. Now, in some, like in India, for certain companies, the financial statement should also be signed by the company secretary. And when does the auditor put his signature on the financial statements? After the management has affixed its signature, not before that. Now, there are events that take place after 31st of March, but which have an impact on items that existed on 31st of March. Now, imagine I have a debtor called Shubh and he is supposed to pay me 20 crores. This is the position on 31st of March, and in my balance sheet, you can see a debtor worth 20 crores. Now, something happened with Shubh and he became bankrupt, and now I'm not going to recover a single rupee from him. Now, what do people think when they look at the balance sheet? They think कि there is a debtor from whom 20 crore is receivable, which means in their minds, the company is going to have a 20 crore ka cash flow, correct? In their mind, the company is going to have a 20 crore ka cash inflow. Now, if the company has a 20 crore ka cash inflow, they expect that the company is doing really well, because अभी दिख रहा है कि यार there is a debtor and the debtor is going to pay 20 crores. But on 15th of April, Shubh has become bankrupt and balance sheet is getting signed on 25th of June. On 25th of June, we know that the debtor has become bankrupt. We know that although we have shown 20 crores in the balance sheet, that amount is not recoverable anymore. Don't you think you are misleading the users of financial statements when you know on the date of signing the financial statements that this 20 crore is not going to be recovered, yet you continue to show it at 20 crores in the balance sheet? ये तो misleading हो गया ना. This particular transaction is misleading for the users of financial statements, and if that is the case, then very clearly some action needs to be taken about it, right? And that is exactly what we are going to discuss. Now, there could be another situation, I think we did this question in IAS 37, that there is a customer who came to your premises. She was walking, she slipped and she broke her hand. Okay. So, but this happened after 31st of December. This happened in the month of February. Now, the conditions for her to fall did not exist on 31st of December. The event took place after that date. Did that item exist on 31st of December? No. So in that case, maybe the treatment is different. So in some cases, what you will have to do is you will have to go back and change the values in the financial statements that are already prepared. ठीक है, जो already prepared financial statements है, you have to go back and change the values. In some cases, what do you have to do? In some cases, you are not supposed to go back and change the value. You are just supposed to give an additional footnote or an additional disclosure in the financial statements telling that, you know what, the values in the balance sheet are not affected by this. The values already existing in the balance sheet are not affected by this. But you, as users of financial statements, as stakeholders, need to know that this particular event has taken place. So there is no entry for these items, but there is an additional disclosure line below the financial statements which gives them adequate information. Ki listen, this is what has happened, and you need to be aware of that. So IAS 10 talks about these events which take place after the balance sheet date. Some of them will end up affecting the items in the balance sheet. The others will require a disclosure in the balance sheet. ठीक है? Okay. Have a look. एक बार read this. ठीक है? Okay. Now, there are two types of events that take place after the balance sheet date. Type 1, the conditions for which already existed on the balance sheet date. Say a case has been filed against the company on 22nd of January. Year ends on 31st of March. And the verdict of the case is given on, say, 15th of April. Did the conditions exist on the balance sheet date? Yes. The case was already filed against the company. It was ongoing in a court of law. What happened after 31st of March? It was just that certain items got confirmed after 31st of March. Ki whether how much amount of damages do you have to pay? What is the penalty that you have to pay? The amounts got confirmed after 31st of March, but conditions already existed on 31st of March. This is an adjusting event. Or there is a debtor, as I said, Shubh. I have shown this debtor at 20 crores in the balance sheet, and later on, he becomes bankrupt in the month of April. I am signing the balance sheet in June. On the balance sheet date, I know now that this debtor is no longer active. This debtor is not going to pay me. So showing 20 crores is misleading to the users of financial statements. So I should go back and make changes to the financial statements. I should adjust the values in the financial statements. I could have situation 3. Um, Tell me, how is inventory valued?
At NRV?
No.
Oh, नहीं नहीं.
At P level, we don't know how is inventory valued. Manav.
Lower of NRV and cost.
Lower of cost or net realizable value. And what is net realizable value? Estimated selling price minus estimated cost to sell. Correct? Now, if it is very clearly mentioned that inventory has to be valued at lower of cost or net realizable value, cost is 50. Okay, and on 31st of March, no sale took place, so you don't know how much is the net realizable value. Okay, the sale took place on 3rd of April, and on 3rd of April, the commodity was sold for 34 rupees, which means you have shown inventory in books of accounts on 31st of March at 50. But at what value is the inventory getting sold? The inventory is getting sold at 34. You have shown 50, inventory is getting sold at 34. Accounting standard says that inventory should be valued at lower of cost or net realizable value. If you continue to show the inventory at 50, don't you think there are two problems here? One, assets are getting overstated. Profit is also getting overstated, and because of this reason it is misleading to the users of financial statements. This is not new inventory. Ye inventory already it was there with you, huh? On 31st of March, this inventory was already there. It was just that you got to know of the net realizable value 2 days later, maybe because there was no sale that happened on 31st of March. So when did you get to know ki there is that this item cannot be sold at 50, it will be sold at 34? You got to know that after 31st of March, but conditions already existed on 31st of March, so you have to go back and alter the value or write down the value of inventory in the 31st of March wala balance sheet. Imagine a situation where there is some fraud or error that is discovered after the end of financial year. Okay. It was discovered after the end of financial year, but it took place during the financial year itself, right? You just got to know about that later. Again, that is an adjusting event, which means if a fraud or error is discovered later, ideally what you should do is you should go back in time and you should make an amendment to the financial, as in you should adjust the financial statements to that effect. Now imagine a situation where uh, there is an asset, there is an asset in your financial statements, and you get information after 31st of March saying that the asset has gotten impaired. What could be such information? The interest rate in the economy has gone up. If the interest rate has gone up, the value in use will fall down. Correct. Which means you have information about the fact that the value in use has fallen down. You should record an accounting entry for impairment, right? You must record an accounting entry for impairment. So, see, the interest rates went up, but asset was already present in the balance sheet. Now, if you continue to show the asset at its carrying amount, again, it will be misleading to the users of financial statements. They think that the asset is worth 20 lakh, but in fact, when you continue to use the asset, you will only end up recovering 14 lakh. So naturally, the impairment entry, you will have to go back in time and you will have to record the impairment entry. Asset was already present on 31st of March. Conditions for impairment also were present on 31st of March. ऐसे एक दिन में interest rates don't go up, right? It's not something that happens in a day ki अरे today it's raining, tomorrow it's very hot. It's not like that. The conditions already existed. You just got to know after 31st of March. ठीक है? So all these events are adjusting events. And my recommendation to all the students is learn the items here. Because in the exam, you will not have time to recollect or go through this. So just learn and move on. ठीक है, एक बार पढ़ो. learn the items. Huh? See, they are not going to ask you ki go back and show how it is done, but you should know what are the items that are affected. Okay. Now the last one, inability of the company to continue as a going concern. Um What is the going concern assumption? The going concern assumption states that the business entity will continue its operations for reasonable foreseeable future. What is reasonable foreseeable future? 12 months from the reporting date. If you have some reasons to believe that the company will not be able to continue as a going concern, then that is an adjusting event. What kind of an event can that be? सब कुछ अच्छा चल रहा था. On 31st of March, everything was fine. On 10th of May, there was a crazy fire and everything got burned down. Up 31st March ka balance sheet is showing that everything is nice with the company. 31st of March, you see there is nothing but burnt premises. Kuch bhi nahi bacha, nothing is left. Company cannot continue as a going concern. How misleading would it be if you are saying that the company is a going concern on 31st of March, and if you go, there is nothing, no building, nothing, everything is burned down. So that if you show it as a going concern, yeah, it's an insult to the users of financial statements. Na kuch hai nahi, and you are saying ki everything is there, right? That balance sheet is misleading. So even if, see, 31st of March ko you didn't know that a fire is going to break out. See, if you would have known, you would have stopped the fire ना. आप ऐसे बैठोगे थोड़ी कि ओ फायर होगा, then I will decide how to deal with it. That is not what you intended to do. पता होता तो you would have stopped it. But something that happened was so intense, was so far reaching that now the company cannot continue. And which is why if the event that takes place after a balance sheet date casts significant doubt on the ability of the company to continue as a going concern, it is an adjusting event. A lot will change in the balance sheet. Okay. Now what happens is, when normally you prepare balance sheet using the going concern assumption, which is why there is a distinction between non-current asset and current asset. Non-current is more than 12 months. Current is less than 12 months. Because the company is expected to continue for a period of more than 12 months, then it makes sense to show non-current and current. If the company ka everything is going to shut down in the next 4 or 5 months, so what is current? What is non-current? Everything is the same. Now, if the company cannot continue as a going concern, then the balance sheet has to be prepared differently. We call it the break-up basis, not the breakup that you are thinking of. है ना? Why are you smiling, Shobh?
सर कभी हुआ ही नहीं है ना, अच्छा है.
Oh, very good. Manav has this brooding look. नहीं? He's like, मेरे तो 10 हो गए. I don't care. Is that the look, Manav? I have learned a new word. I don't understand its meaning. I have sigma. This is a word I have learned. There was alpha, which was okay. There was beta, that was also okay. Now, sigma, I don't understand.
सर वो मेल मतलब ऐसा बोलते कि सिग्मा मेल मतलब अरे कड़क आदमी है ऐसा, बम्बईया भाषा में अपन बोलते ना, अरे क्या भाई
मैं
एक
किसी को
नंबर
नहीं बोलता हूँ
ऐसे.
कड़क कड़क. Anyway, sigma. Joshel, what are your thoughts on this word?
सर सेम थॉट्स वही बोला जाता है सर इधर भी.
Sigma. What world do I live in? जहाँ पे लोग आउटफिट को फिट बोलते हैं. For the longest time, I thought fit check means this person has gone to the gym, he's fit, which is why he's clicking a picture, putting it on social media, and then saying fit check. After years, I realized वो outfit की बात हो रही है. There is this problem with some people, they don't say the full word, आधा आधा शब्द खा जाते हैं. ये वो वाला प्रॉब्लम लगता है मुझे. Fit, drip, riz, पता नहीं क्या क्या words you guys use, बाबा. Manav, you don't?
सर हमारे तो पूरे एरिया में वही चलता है सर पूरा मतलब
If
फुल
I
टर्म्स तो सर.
if I hear Gen Z talk, I don't think I'll understand half of it. समझेगा ही नहीं मुझे.
सर हम लोग तो भी 2002-3 वाले हैं, बाकी तो जो नए नए जो प्रोडक्शन है 9-10 के बाद तो समझ में नहीं आता है.
Don't tell me you're 2002, 3. I will feel even older. My beard is getting white. And you are talking about 2002, 3. It's just heartbreaking. Don't tell me your age, please. And in 1 month, I'll turn 34, which is just, I don't know what. Acha, one task for you. Suggest a good 2-day break that I can go to. It has to be close to where I stay. I will disappear on my birthday, ना? ये ऑफिस के लोगों के साथ थोड़ी करूंगा सेलिब्रेट नॉनसेंस.
तो आप आपके इधर होम टाउन जा रहे हो ना?
वो तो दिवाली में जा रहा हूँ.
कहाँ पे सर?
माय होम
सर
टाउन.
उधर थोड़ा टाइम रह जाओ बर्थडे.
इतना नो नो नो. सी, after a certain point na, you can tolerate your family and they can tolerate you only for a certain duration. There is a 72-hour cutoff. After that, you start yelling at each other, all of that. So, for a week, I'm there. I'll come back.
आप अभी नोएडा में हो ना, मतलब नोएडा रहते हो ना ऑल टाइम, तो वहां पे कुछ ढूंढ के आपको भेजते हैं।
ऑल टाइम मतलब इधर ही
हाँ,
हूँ अभी मैं.
हाँ, मतलब वैसे नहीं, मतलब आपने बोला ना बर्थडे के लिए 2 दिन की तरह आजू बाजू में, तो
हाँ.
कोई आजू बाजू करेगा तो भाई हेल्प कर दो, या तो फिर सर चैट जीपीटी या गूगल से भेज देते हैं आपको।
शुभ शाह. चैट जीपीटी फॉर एवरीथिंग.
सर भी आइटिनरी वहां पे तो दिल्ली का क्या मालूम होगा।
You know what? I'll switch off internet and I'll stay at home. Let's just keep it simple.
नहीं, आप होटल स्टे के लिए जाओ. यू विल एंजॉय
कौन सा स्टे?
होटल स्टे.
उधर जाके क्या 15-20 हजार खर्चा करने का रूम में सोने का? आई हैव माई हाउस ना. आई पे रेंट हियर ऑल्सो.
अरे सर वो फुल 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 बॉडी
सर यू विल
स्पा जो
गेट
होता है ना।
एक्सपीरियंस.
Shubh, I
हाँ
stop you right there. No, 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 no. Let's not get into that. Let's talk about non-adjusting events. This is getting very scary right now. Shubh Shah, next what he will suggest, I don't know. Let's talk about non-adjusting events. Okay, we were talking about the going concern assumption. I don't know how I went into my birthday. See, that is what happens at 10:45. Anyway, so we discussed that if the company cannot continue for more than 12 months, then naturally you cannot use the going concern basis. You have to use the break up basis of accounting. What is this break up basis? Here, assets are shown at net realizable value. That means if I were to sell the asset today, how much money would I get? That is net realizable value. I have to show the asset at net realizable value. Liabilities should be shown at the value that I will have to pay in order to settle the obligation. Okay. So, Manav is my creditor, and I am crying in front of him. 2 दिन से कुछ नहीं खाया type story. I am crying in front of him. Manav, please be kind. I know I owe you 1 lakh rupees, but कुछ तो कम करो. Just reduce it to some extent. So Manav says, चलो, I'll not take 1 lakh from you. I'll take only 90,000 from you. So Manav has forgiven 10,000 and I only have to pay him 90,000. So the liability will be shown at 90,000, not at 1 lakh. ठीक है. So that's how the balance sheet will be prepared. Okay, this is known as the breakup basis. Nobody is ever going to ask you prepare the balance sheet using breakup basis. You just need to know. The second type of event is non-adjusting event. Conditions for which did not exist on the balance sheet date. I have a coaching class, physical coaching class in Delhi. Someone comes to the coaching class and he slips, bangs his head, and goes to the hospital. Now, I did not know this is going to happen. The conditions did not exist on the balance sheet date. The event took place later. Now, this person is saying, Satyamed, you have to pay me 1 lakh rupees. Like, मैं क्यों दूं? He's like, no, I fell in your premises. Now, you had mopped the floor. Now, you are responsible. So the event took place after the balance sheet date. Conditions did not exist on the balance sheet date. But the world needs to know that this case has been filed against me. And if certain things happen, then I'll have to make the payment. So that is shown as a disclosure in the financial statements. And that is not a part of uh, the balance sheet. You don't need to record an accounting entry, but you have to mention this fact. Or the company decides to, discontinue a particular operation. Like a company was running 5-6 courses and it decided, on 5th of April, let's not teach CMA. It's such a waste of time. So they made a decision to discontinue operations after 31st of March. The conditions did not exist on 31st of March. So this will again require a disclosure. One event that always should be recorded as a disclosure, as a non-adjusting event, and never as an adjusting event is declaration of dividend. Although dividend relates with the last year, dividend is something, जिसका accrual नहीं होता है. There is never an accrual of dividend. You know how dividend declaration happens? There is a meeting like this, shareholders. ठीक है. Satyamed and Yash are the directors. We propose a dividend that we will pay 10 rupees per share. All of you shareholders will say yes, we agree. And then, so when Yash and I make that proposition to you, it is called proposed dividend. Proposed dividend का कुछ नहीं होता. And then later on, when you accept that amount, then it becomes declared dividend. But see, the way you have interest accrual, the way you have rent accrual, you never have dividend accrual in the financial statements. Okay. So declaration of dividend is, the conditions did not exist on the balance sheet date. Why? Balance sheet date was 31st of March. You prepared the financial statements. Later on, you had several discussions within the company. You thought, yeah, there is a new project that we will launch. So we don't want to give the money back to shareholders. Let us retain the money. Or, बहुत सारा discussion हुआ, and then you decided. It was not, the condition did not exist on 31st of March. Discussions happened later in the meeting of board of directors, and then that decision to declare the dividend was made, which is why a declaration of dividend without any exception is always a non-adjusting event. Okay. Or commencing a court case arising out of events after the reporting date. Like I told you, this person broke her arm, right? So that happened after the balance sheet date. So you don't need an adjustment, you simply need a disclosure. Even here, I will tell you, learn the items, because they usually ask from this set of items only. Is pe time waste mat karna, which is why this is a weekday standard, not a weekend standard. Okay. Have a quick look. Examples.
Sir,
Hmm.
sir, here the very first announcing plan to discontinue an operation. It is said here that it is a non-adjusting event,
Hmm.
but अगर कोई डिसकंटिन्यू करना चाहता है, मतलब एक प्रोडक्शन लाइन है या कुछ भी एक टाइप ऑफ मटेरियल है या कुछ भी एक प्रोडक्ट है, तो दे मस्ट बी थिंकिंग फ्रॉम वे,
I
मतलब
agree.
past।
I agree.
तो
But
उसका तो रेवेन्यू ये साल में उन्होंने बुक कर लिया बुक्स में।
see, वो problem नहीं है. You, on 31st of March, that particular vertical was still running. ठीक है. Now, when you say adjusting event, when you make a plan to discontinue an operation, that is basically like a restructuring. You are selling off a vertical. Now, you can record a provision in books of accounts only if a constructive obligation was present on 31st of March. Here you made the announcement after 31st of March. तुम्हारे मन में होगा, it is there in your heart, but who cares about the heart, right? It has to be an explicit declaration to the world that we are going to discontinue. Only then the constructive obligation will come in. It will not come in till that point, right? That is why. And make sure that whenever a disclosure is made, we'll go through the Infosys balance sheet once, after all the standards are done, we'll go through a balance sheet to see how all of these items come together. See, if it is a material item, then make sure that there is adequate disclosure of the nature of the event and the financial impact. Wherever possible, you should state. And where it is not possible to state the financial impact, make sure that you mentioned the fact that we tried but we could not estimate the actual financial impact in this case, तो वो आपको बताना है. ठीक है. Now, the questions on IAS 10 ना ऐसे कुछ, there aren't any difficult questions or separate questions ever that can be asked on IAS 10. IAS 10 is something that will fetch you one extra mark in a big answer. Suppose the question is on IAS 37 plus employee benefits plus consolidation, sub mila ke hai. And there is some event that has taken place after the balance sheet date, and you are talking about the adjustment or disclosure, that will fetch you one additional mark. This is not an independent standard. This doesn't have main character energy in your language. This is a side supporting accounting standard. This is something which will help to enhance the quality of your answer. इस पे independent question नहीं आ ही नहीं सकता. Your paper doesn't have MCQ. I have given a couple of MCQs that I want you to go through, but your paper doesn't have MCQs, so no point in worrying about it. ठीक है? Supporting standard है, छोटा सा standard है. Keep it that way. Now, tomorrow we will cover IAS 21, which is foreign exchange, and IAS 8, which is changes in accounting policies, estimates, and accounting errors. Now, I want you to pay attention to how the next couple of days I'm planning, so that you also plan your preparation accordingly. I'm just switching off the recording now. Thank you.